I think it's time for us to talk to our guest, Denis Klopper of SA Motorsport Memories. Yesterday, I went to the launch of Porsche at Kyalami,
Oh,
a new book. So this book here, and this is
I don't know. I
60
didn't know you were rubbing
years
shoulders
of
with
memories.
such
And I
quality.
tell you what, just pick a page. This is the book on Kyalami. It is 500 pages. We're going to talk to Denis about it now, but I just need to feel lacquer about this.
You know
Pick
what's
a page.
you know what's lacquer already? I've already seen it, but there's actually tobacco advertising.
George Fisher
Oh.
in a 702, Radio 702 when Stan Katz was still there.
Yeah,
Porsche, and I think it's a 936,
yeah.
956, which was a longer wheelbase one.
You know what else is
For
cool?
SA.
There's yellow pages advertising in the grandstand, but
Okay,
the grandstands are full.
Oh, here's your bikes.
There we go.
There's,
That's proper, eh?
it's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
It really is nice. And Group N Racing, Midas Group N, there's all sorts of lovely stuff. So I'll put a bookmark in here
Okay.
and let's see if Henk can zoom in on this. 1971. You saw on this day. So I originally thought it was 1972, but I got it wrong. So the results are here. Second was Jackie Stewart, third Clay Regazzoni. In the 9 hour, Clay Regazzoni, Brian Redman in a Ferrari 312P. And you'll recall Jackie X and Mario Andretti got, well, you won't.
Oh, wait, I wasn't even born.
They were stuck on the outside of the second S. Fani Viljoen, Johan Boshoff wins the SA Production Motorcycle Championship. And then there was more, 1000cc, 350, 250. Keith Zeeman in a 350. Les Van Breda in 1000. Anyway, that's the Kyalami book. We're going to talk to Denis Klopper about the Porsche book and all the other books that he's got.
Ferrari, BMW, doing the autobiography. So we're doing
Very cool.
Well, yeah, if we survive that long.
We told you we would have a guest and a bit of an in-depth interview. We've got Denis Klopper with us, who is the publisher team leader for SA Motorsport Memories. Denis, thanks a lot for coming through and joining us.
Thank you.
You've got a long history as Kyalami.
I do.
I mean, long history.
I do. I attended my first race there in 1969, South African Grand Prix. Watched Jackie Stewart win in the match over the wings, and you may not believe this, but I have not missed a race since that day. I attended every single race. We cycled from the East Rand to get to Kyalami.
Cycled.
Collected programs, and the only race I've missed, even during the army years, was this last 9 hour that was held. I was in Cape Town. So that was the first time I've missed a race in 69. So
that's quite a record. I mean, Kyalami's gone through a number of iterations, and I still think that, yes, the original was the original, and that fed a lot of people, but this current circuit, in my mind, is quite outstanding. It's just a magnificent piece of work.
Oh, it's world class. And I think we have to all remember that Kyalami wouldn't have survived the way it was, even if you take the money out of the equation. The circuit wouldn't have been safe today. Things change in life, and we have to accept that and enjoy what we have, and stop. It's nice to talk about the past, but don't live in the past.
Yeah.
We have to live in the here and now.
Remember the past, hold it dear,
Correct.
and look forward.
And enjoy these days that we have.
So, you put together this book, 60 years of Kyalami, and I bet you didn't think it was going to be as interesting as it was.
The journey started a long time ago. The thought actually grew from a young age to put a book together. When COVID hit, it became a project. It became something to do. We started. I sat with Toby Fent and I said, it's time. We often spoke about it. I want to get this book done. And we spoke about a 200-300 page book. If I wasn't stopped, it would be a lot thicker than that.
It's about 500 pages now.
Correct. And when we entered into it, if I knew what we would have had to go through to get the job complete, done and delivered. I won't say I wouldn't have done it, but I may have done it differently. But this is
what would you have done differently? Because that's a massive undertaking right there.
I think firstly, Toby and Willie Venter sat me down and said, Dennis, your ideas are incredible. We love it, but you're going to need help. And they were so wise in saying that. Okay. So we brought Roger Houghton on board, who's a legend in terms of editorial. And we brought Chris Dawson, who does all the work for Toby's companies in terms of graphic designs and layouts. And without them, and then we brought other people on as we went, I would have brought them on sooner and involved them sooner. I was very gung-ho and bravado.
Fair enough.
And I think that's probably but nothing much else. It was hard work. It's 18 hours a day. We missed our deadlines, but we created an expectation. We created an excitement. And as you know, Toby Venter often says, it's the anticipation sometimes is better than the.
How many of them, from what I understand, there are very few left. How many books were printed?
So we printed 600 standard books,
which is
this one.
Thank you very much for it. It holds a deep special place for me.
And so do you and your past brother, who was a great friend. We then did 60 collector's editions, which were in a box, numbered, signed, which were sold very quickly. We sold them way before we printed the book. And then we did 40 what we called editor's editions. And that was our print run. We have about 6 of these left.
How can somebody get hold of
where were these sold? Because it sounds like they're going fast.
Well, we never went... To sell these types of books in retail is not viable. So we did everything through our contacts, through people we know in motorsport, and there's a lot of good people in motorsport. Really, there is. A lot of people have a passion for motorsport, and through that network and people's help on social media and press releases and journalists, having worked at Kyalami for so many years, I got to know all the motoring media. And we lent on those people who, and the book sold itself. Once the first lot of people started receiving their book, there was a knock-on event, and there was a massive international request for the book.
Oh, everybody in the world knows Kyalami is you've got Joburg, Cape Town, Kyalami.
Correct, and a lot of South Africans are living abroad.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of interest, but to ship that by air costs more than the book. So we appointed an agent in the UK called Chater's Booksellers. We printed another 500 books, and they're on the water somewhere. Heading
the
to
vagaries of shipping.
Heading to the UK, but I will not print another one here locally. We'll focus on our new publications.
Okay. So the company is SA Motorsport Memories, not just on this.
Correct.
What's next?
Well, I think first of all, my passion is Kyalami, and most of what we're going to be doing going forward will be around Kyalami. The Porsche book, which we had the media preview yesterday at Kyalami, and Toby so graciously allowed us into one of his really private venues for that, is the next one that is pretty close to.
This picture behind us is
from the book.
Yeah, so Stefan Beloff and Derek Bell.
Correct. Can I talk a bit about that book?
Please do. No, I want to.
So I think the main purpose of SA Motorsport Memories is to try and preserve and play a small part in preserving the history of motorsport in this country, and specifically around Kyalami, because what happened at Kyalami happened everywhere else. So if someone raced at Kyalami, they would have raced everywhere. Because there's a lot of people who preserve a lot of other elements. People like Toby, who's preserved Kyalami. People like Peter, who does so much at Swartkorps. Kyalami, the passion and the money involved in keeping these circuits going and getting them to certain levels is beyond belief.
And then you've got guys like Steve Katurba, who preserve cars and memorabilia.
Once again, beyond belief in
Yeah.
terms of what he's done and his commitment. And you have the motoring media, the dedicated people. Andre de Kock, if I may just throw out one name,
Yeah.
who's been there for local motorsport for decades. The photographers, for me, the photographers are key. And every photograph in this book and in the new books are all South African photographers.
Yeah, that's good to know.
We have a few from these last 9 hours where they were international photographers, but South African photographers.
Okay.
And without the photographers who captured those memories, we don't have books. And I hold my head up high to the dedication.
They really are beautiful photographs, both in the Kyalami, the track book, and what I saw of the Porsche book yesterday.
I think the images, the later images, when everything went digital, are easy to be creative with because the quality's there. The older images have more life. I still believe it, and I'll stand by that. But they take a lot of work. And Chris can spend hours fixing up images, or an image, because they're incorrectly scanned. And there's a lot of work involved in doing that.
You've got a lot of the original images.
We're sitting with a lot of photographers. I can't mention them all now, but if I could single out, Gavin Stapleton was one of the legends.
Yeah.
He started as a kid walking around with his camera and went home, developed the stuff, and then took his bicycle to the newspaper and gave the image, get it into the newspaper. So he passed away, sadly, a number of years ago, and his brother David, who works with Kevin Hellier, another motorcycle legend, they have a company called Camera Press. They do the printing for us, and he said, here's Gavin's collection, and I've got not the whole one, but it's over 100,000 slides and pictures that have never been seen. So we're slowly processing through all of this. And then obviously Malcolm Sampson, who was in that era as well. Colin Watling, absolute legend. Roger Swan, David Pearson, who's done so much to preserve the photographs as well. And then in a more modern era, Tony Elvers, great photographer, great guy. Woody Rodseth. The list is never ending, really is.
So, the connection with Porsche, Toby, Porsche, Kyalami, when is this book going to be ready? Or when is the target date?
Soon.
Now.
We did a photo shoot yesterday, and some of the slides that I sent you, we photographed Toby's 2944 cars that he raced and won championship with. We photographed his legendary GT2R and also Gary Dunkley's Sabre car. So they're going to be part of the book. So by the second quarter, we will have the book out.
So maybe by the end of July.
Correct. That's that is our plan. And a lot depends on, and Chris has got a lot of other work to do, but 95% of the book, the content is there. It's the layout process and then the printing process.
Yeah.
And we won't go as complex as the special editions we did, because the leather covers, those things are very time consuming with load shedding and these things.
And okay, so now we've got Porsche, we've got the track, we've got Porsche. You got to have a Ferrari.
Well, can we go back to Porsche for a second?
Yeah.
It's Porsche.
Porsche.
Checks in the mail.
Okay, Porsche.
So I think there's no brand that has a more iconic history at Kyalami than Porsche. Yeah. And there's various reasons for that. The first race was won by a Porsche.
Yeah.
The last race, major race at the original circuit, was won by a Porsche 956.
Yep.
The last physical race was won by a Porsche engine car with Graham Duxbury raced in that race with Wayne Taylor. And then when the new circuit opened, Porsche won with McLaren, Porsche tag engine McLarens. Porsche won at the second version of the circuit in the endurance racing with 962s. And then when the 9 came back, Porsche won in 2019. And Toby Venter owns Porsche South Africa. And he owns a circuit.
So are you connecting the dots here, Colin?
Connect the dots. I mean, I made the last point. It was the first one I did. Yeah. And you know, as I've got older, I've become more and more of a Porsche fan. So
Look at that! Eh? Wow, I'm impressed.
However, the prancing horse has got something for me.
There's two other brands that, for me, and I think we'll all agree, and we're doing a bike book at some point.
Yeah,
that's a future project, and Kevin Hallier is working on that one.
He's a bike car, so yeah, all good.
So, for me, there's two other brands that stand out.
Yeah.
It's Ferrari, which I have also a great love for.
Which they never admit to on TV. Because he's a Porsche.
He's a Porsche. Yeah.
And BMW, because BMW have been there almost from the start, and they're still there.
Come on, the picture that's in your mind. I'll tell you the picture that's in my mind. Hunchstock in the black Batmobile car.
Yes.
That's the one I've got in my head.
Well,
and then the 320, sorry, the 316. You remember the old shape when they had the two Stanek
Yes.
BMs, and then
the shadow lines,
the Worth car.
Oh, the 2002.
Yeah.
2002 Turbo. That's what that was. It's raced in the Wins 1000.
That was.
And Jody won that race in a Ford.
Yeah.
So, and Ford, is another.
Yeah, I was going to say there's
there's
books for days.
We're focusing on Porsche first.
Yeah.
And then Ferrari and BMW will follow. We're doing an autobiography of a South African champion, which I can't mention right now, but
if he walked you through the door, he might have to duck.
No. He won 6 South African titles, and there's only one living one. So, the other 2 passed away. And on that note, you were speaking earlier about the quality of motorsport today and fork bikes, which is sad. But
yeah, I apologize.
I just want to go back and mention that we speak with very teary eyes about the great days of Formula One in South Africa with John Liv and Dave Charlton, and maybe another 2 cars or 3 cars or 4 cars behind.
Yeah.
But we remember those days with great fondness. And it takes 2 cars to make a race.
Yeah.
2 bikes.
Well, that's when the first motor race ever happened, when the second car arrived.
Correct. And I think we have to remember that. It's... In those days, it was fantastic to have Formula One's racing, but we never had 30 cars.
No.
We had 3 or 4 Formula Ones, maybe 5, and then we had a couple of Formula 5000s. But we remember those days with great fondness.
What do you think it is, though, when you say we look back? Do you think it's the rivalries that we had on the track and people siding with riders, or do you think it's something else that sort of brings people or sort of paints the picture when you look back with rosy shaded
I
glasses?
think the rivalries and the characters and the personalities. And I'm not saying we don't have those personalities today, but maybe they're not coming through.
Yeah, okay.
Because we do have the personalities. And there was big money involved in those days.
Yeah.
Dave Charlton ran with R1 million sponsorship in the 1970s a year.
Sure. Yeah, I see that.
Are we not spoilt for choice? Because I can go home right now, turn on my thing and go to YouTube and find all the races wherever, and we never had that in the 70s. And
it's probably the most valid point, because
we're starved of good stuff.
If I wanted to watch motorsport, I had to get on my bicycle,
go to the track, and
maybe the following week on a Wednesday or Thursday, I'd go to the CNA and buy the Autosport, and get up to date with what's happening in the world.
And you read the Autosport, and there's Formula One races there, and it was so fantastic. I can see a Lotus 49,
and you can hear it. And you can touch it and go to the pits, and I think you're right. I think we are spoiled for choice, which is a nice thing for us. But it takes away from and nothing compares. And I think nothing compares to being at the circuit. You watching those 9-hour cars, even though there was only 8 that raced at the last 9-hour in February last year. Watching them at night with their glowing brake discs, and the noise
quality of the
lights, speed, and You can't capture that on any other media than actually physically being there.
Yeah, I think just to go back to it, yeah, like I agree with you. The pie is only so big, so splitting it is a problem. And then yeah, I think this is a point that I throw out there, but I think it's a South African thing, and I could be wrong. But if you look at like football Premier League in the UK, it's like minus 1,000,000 degrees. Everyone's freezing, but you look in the stands and there's a oak abusing a football player with his grand sitting next to him and their grandchild and a dog and whatever. But the stadium's full, even if they're Scunthorpe United. You watch the Lions play against the Bulls, and if they're both not performing well, it's just a couple Oaks selling snacks in the stands, and that's it. And the Oaks sort of they're not committed. They don't come out to watch. We've got the weather for it. There's nothing better to be outside, but guys are quite lazy. They'll watch on their TV, they'll watch on their phones, and there is media coverage. So we'll just do that. And it's a shame because if you go out, like you say, it's just so much more of an experience and good family time. You know,
It is the experience. The experiential part is what you need.
Yeah.
And events like Goodwood, even Festival of Motoring at Kyalami, where there's such variety. It's amazing to see the families there. So the passion is still there.
You get it at Knysna.
Incredible event that has become absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so you threw it there. We said Festival of Motoring or Extreme Festival, whatever the case is. And there's a dynamic there that I want to touch on, and maybe it could be controversial, but splitting, because I've complained already, and I'll keep complaining. But yeah, when things split, there's pictures there, and it's amazing. It's Westbank Super Series, and there's Hudson Kenner in there, and Greg Hildenaes, you're in there, and Nicole van Asviek, and you're in there, and Sheridan Rice, and there's so many people. But I remember watching the stands. Lance Isaacs is there, yeah, and there's so many big names and people that I watch in the stands at Kyalami and stuff like that. But those days, those golden days were 2005, 2004, 2005. Good times watch Hudson Kenner, the whole lot. But mixed grids. People, I think, also like over in the UK, Bike Only Day works with BSP, but they attract international stars, and it's a whole different ballgame. But here in South Africa, Oaks one choice. So I remember watching Hudson Kenner and Sheridan Marais go hammer and tongs, and Trevor Crooks and those guys go hammer and tongs. But I also remember the Alphas pushing each other off when there was a championship at stake at the bottom of the bowl. So you got to watch everything, and it was like spoil for choice. The split, maybe a bit detrimental to the sport, especially on the two-wheel side, because cars are still doing all right, but bikes are suffering.
I think in South Africa, in my opinion, it should have stayed together. Hindsight is an exact science.
Always, yeah.
But in my opinion, it should have, because you're right. We had production cars, we had V8s, we had the single-seaters, we had the bikes. So we would be drawing people from all of those elements.
Yeah.
And we would get huge crowds. If you go back to the touring car days, which is before your time, in the 90s.
Track was full.
We had 25,000 people at a national event.
No, that's what we need.
But there it broke down even further, because you had your Opel fans, your BM fans, your Nissan fans, and then you also had your bike fans.
Yeah.
And so I think you're right. We've lost that, and we need to, in my opinion, we need to get that enthusiasm back in terms of the touch and feel and smell and hear. And opening pits for me is not even a.
No, I think there should be the teams should have an obligation to. Everybody should have a quota. Get 20 kids to sit in your car. I mean, the team should be running out and grabbing kids and taking a photograph of the kid in the car.
I think we should, because you can't do the big international events because of the nature of it. But for local motorsport, it was always part of it. Kyalami's open pit. And everyone, they won't spend the day there. They just want to come in, have a look, get an autograph or two, and then go back to their spot.
And fathers, grandfathers, uncles, friends know that, hey, listen, I can go to the track. Entries are generally very low, entry fees very low. But I can go to the track with a kid. I've got, say, 2 or 3 hours to spend. I'm not going to spend the whole day racing there. And I know I'm going to be able to get him in the pits and make the kid's day and give him a special experience.
So it ignites a passion, you know. It might not be to race. It might be to be an engineer or a marshal or an official or whatever. It ignites a passion, which is what we need to do. But I think we are spoiled, because on Sunday you can watch Grand Prix MotoGP. The list is endless.
Yeah, not leave the couch. And watch on your phone and watch on 3 different channels.
And World Endurance Championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which we've got to get to Kyalami. Hint, hint.
Well,
nudge, nudge. If whoever's listening from Kyalami,
He's the guy, man. He's the guy. But you know,
I'll do the book on it.
But you know, you say that with the open pits net. I have like one of my fondest memories of Kyalami is 2010. World Superbikes came out, and I also remember like was it '08 they came out for testing and that.
Correct.
And
Tire
in
testing.
December, and Ben Spies and those guys came out for the first time. Carl Crutchlow, the whole lot, and pits were open then, and we walked around there, and I got to meet like Ben Spies and chat to him, whatever. What a great guy! But 2010, I remember sitting on my couch, and luckily I don't work for this employer anymore, so I'm going to throw it out there. But I remember SMS coming out saying, and I can't remember where it came from, but it was an SMS back in the day saying, pits are open, come through, have a look, whatever, on a Thursday. And I said to my sister, sitting on the couch, the teams are going to be there, riders and stuff are going to be there. Should we go? And she said, yeah. And I said, yeah, but I've got stock take, whatever the case was. And then on the Thursday at 12 o'clock, I was like, to hell with this.
You got sick suddenly.
I've got to go fetch my sister. She's broken down. And we went to, I said to my sister, meet me, and we went to Kyalami, and we met everyone. The pits were open. Some of the pits were closed because you had personalities like Max Biaggi, nowhere to be found. But we met like Roger Lee Hayden. He was walking around. Johnny Ray was riding for Hansbury Tenkata, and Tenkata is a hard-working unit. They made them go get dressed into their leathers, come out, pose with a bike, sign autographs. Mikel Pirro, who's like a MotoGP test rider, he was there. My sister stalked him. And we met like Ben Spies, a whole lot. And we, Ruben Zaus, Troy Corsa, the most amazing guys you'll ever meet. And it was just like a game changer. That my sister, who liked motorsport, became like a superbike enthusiast. And when we were leaving, the guy we wanted to see was Noriyuki Haga. And we said, like, so disappointing because I had to get back to work. And we walked through there, but we were there for 3 hours. We got pictures of everyone, which will live with me forever. But as we were walking up the stairs, he walked down, and I said, here he is. And he was like, oh, how are you? And we took photos, but like the nicest people. But those are the fondest memories, meeting the riders.
And those people are still the same.
Yeah, game changer. But it was just the best event. Christopher Million was racing everyone up and on a scooter. It was just amazing. And those things like stayed fast that I'll look back at those riders and remember what I met in the pit lane, whatever, and it changes the game for me.
I think we need to let people understand that, you know, Netflix took Formula One, as we know, to another level. You can actually come to a race circuit. Passion of Speed at Swartkoms was an incredible event and well attended, and you can engage and hear and feel it all. You know, and I think that for me is critical.
You're watching this. You've heard a couple of memories that we've got. Write a comment. Send us your memories of racing and your fondest memories of racing in South Africa. Could be anywhere, anytime. Send it in. The best one. We'll have a prize next week for you.
I think the other thing we have to remember is times have changed.
Okay.
And, you know, people often, and Megan and Alex who run Kyalami now are inundated with calls. Can we camp at a 9 hour? Can we, you know, there's things that have changed. There's things we have to accept that can't come back.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that it's still an amazing experience. You know,
is it possible to maybe have build a serious caravan park type camping area?
You probably could. You know, there's probably ways of doing it, and these things could be developed, but it's got to be done through the channels and through.
And I mean, there's a whole lot of health and safety regulations.
That's the point. You know, the scaffolding. If you look through this book, people used to build scaffolding going up 5 stories.
The main straight. Oh, no, 10. I haven't done that scaffolding. I'm terrified of height. I didn't move the whole
I don't know how many more people went injured or
and the amount of alcohol that was consumed. It is amazing that
that's where the real racing started, was just outside when everyone left the event.
Correct. And the 9 hour, I don't know how many people saw the end of the 9 hour, but you know, they were great events, and it's the experience. And I think we go back to a word I spoke about yesterday. It's passion. We need to get the passion back. In a way, the world's become too sterile and too, you know, it's not good to have passion or not good to have an opinion, a strong opinion. Passion is key. And if you look overseas, it's the races are extremely well attended, not just Formula One. I'm talking
everything. Yeah.
You know, we need to rekindle the passion. I think there's no quick answer.
So let me throw this out there. So we say rekindle the passion, and we touched on the big ones, which is obviously MotoGP, massive now because we've got South African guys attending. Formula One, it goes in stages up and down, but like you said, Drive to Survive, game changer. Everyone is involved. I mean, one of our guys got, I think, the written warning or whatever the case was because he was watching streaming on his phone and using all the company Wi-Fi. You know who you are, Liam. And then Yeah, moving on, but like what, and it always comes out, and it's always like everyone gets excited, and then I get inundated, but I know, like not even a tenth of what you know. But what are the chances of a big event like Formula One, MotoGP, or World Superbikes coming back to South Africa? Because it's happened before. You said times have changed, the track had to be changed, whatever the case is. But yeah, the equipment also changed to get faster. But what's the likelihood? Is there hope? Because Oaks get very hopeful, and then it sort of doesn't happen. But there's things that need to happen for these events to come here.
I think the only reason we could have hope is because of what Toby Fenter did at Kyalami. So that's the first answer to the question.
Fair.
Without that, we wouldn't have hope.
Yeah.
So Kyalami is a good base, a good baseline to start the discussion on the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Potentially World Superbikes and maybe MotoGP.
Okay.
And the Grand Prix discussion, as we all know, has been ongoing.
Yeah.
And it is still behind the scenes. They won a Grand Prix in Africa. Kyalami is the only venue. You know, to think you can build a street circuit in Cape Town, you can do it for Formula E, but you can't do it for Formula One.
Yeah, but Formula E is not proper racing.
Well,
there's our first apology.
I think I'm speaking purely from a safety point of view.
Yeah, fair.
From a vehicle point of view, they're worlds apart. The one's a go-kart, the one is a
one's a racing car, one's not.
There's our second.
So the platform is there, and I think that's the positive that we have from that.
Okay.
There's a lot of other elements that need to come into it
to
make it work, and the main one is money.
Okay.
You know, the value of the rand doesn't help.
Yeah.
Because when you start, everything's in dollars and euros, and I think that could often be a stumbling block.
Okay.
But the basis is there, and the possibility exists that these things can happen.
Okay.
I believe
we've got more chance of a World Endurance Championship race before Formula One, I think.
From a circuit point of view, Kyalami is currently FI Grade 2, and World Endurance is FI Grade 2.
And we've got two South Africans running at the moment, Van der Linde brothers, and we'll have three: Perel, Kelvin van der Linde, Sheldon van der Linde, and Pepper.
Correct. So all the ingredients are there, Colin. I mean, they're all there. GT racing all over the world is booming. All these races have full entries: Le Mans reserve entries, Spa 24 hours reserve entries. The cars are there.
We just got to get the timing on the calendar right for the endurance race at Kyalami. It can't be 2 weeks after Australia, or before.
I think, for me, that's got to be end of November, December, because that's when the people in Europe can't race.
Yeah, true.
And we're going back to history. If you go back to how things happened in the past, we've got to learn from that and remember that. And that was the reason for it then, and that same reason still applies. You can't race your cars in Europe or in the Northern Hemisphere. So what are you going to do then? Come down here.
And all the championships were over. Yeah. So the risk of anything happen to the car was, to impact one of those championships was less. So now you can come to sunny Africa, come out of the snow and crap weather of the Northern Hemisphere, and have a glorious time. We need another ranch hotel. Toby should build a ranch 2.0 version of the hotel. It will be fully booked forever.
I think it doesn't. The 9 hour was very seldom, or the Wins 1000, or those DTM Invitational. They were very seldom part of the World Championship, and they were great success. Yeah. And I think that's where the recipe lies. A good historic event in that period as well, where people want to bring cars back here that raced here, I think for me would be a no-brainer.
Okay. That's where the Passion of Speed does so well.
Correct.
I mean, I saw that.
100%. And you can even link up with that and work with, because what Peter has done there is beyond belief.
Yeah.
And the amount of effort, money, and that he's put into that. And I don't think people realize that. People sit and say there's 5,000 people here, 200 rand each. Gee, he's making a fortune. Doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm. It costs a whole lot. Dennis? I'd love to see that Porsche book when it comes off the press.
It's going to be, we're going to keep teasing pages. Can I touch on the Porsche book?
Please.
We cover every international...
Porsche, please.
I was going to say, which book are you going to read? Because I'll be reading the Porsche book.
Sorry.
The Porsche book is a different one. No, you did. That's why I was curious which book you'll be reading.
It covers every international race where Porsches have raced. Every car, we've got every car photographed, the chassis numbers. We go into all the details. And then we talk a lot about Le Mans because there's a big connection between the endurance races we held here in Le Mans. Same team, same cars. Reinhold Just, Derek Bell, Jackie X. The list goes on. David Piper.
Stefan.
Correct. It's Hans Stuck. And also covering the local stuff. And that for me was critical with this book. A lot of books have been done about the Grand Prix in the 9 hours. In this book, we cover the local stuff as well, which is key for me.
Cool. Yeah, it's cool.
And the marshals and all the other people behind the scenes. So the Porsche book, a lot of the local 944, which was semi-local, and local Porsche, the Altec Porsche Challenge, etc., etc. And there's a lot of good memories and good days that came out of that. Gary Dunkley's incredible career with his Porsche. So we try and encapsulate the focus is on the international stuff, but bring in these other elements. We've got some very great guest writers who are writing their memories for us, in terms of people like Andre de Krok, Stuart Johnson, Hendrik Vervoet, Roger McCleary. And these are all antidotes that they have and memories they have of Porsche racing as well.
Who does the fact-checking and the researching for you?
Most of it is in my head. I think there's a lot to refer to. We have every race program, we have all the results, we have all the newspaper articles and clippings. So we have everything. And you can't necessarily always rely on people's memories, I must tell you, including mine. We had a lot of, this book has got over 205 Kyalami memories from Jackie Stewart, Jody Scheckter, right down to marshals and medics that worked at the circuit. And a driver would say, well, me winning the 9 hour was an amazing, my highlight. And then I had to tell them they didn't. So, things like that where people's memories. So you got to rely on fact. You got to rely on, we're sitting with over 10, 15,000 magazines in our archives. So this is fact. It's recorded, then it's period. And that's what we rely heavily on. And people like Roger Houghton, and there's a lot of individuals who help us with them. And we don't get everything right.
There's who was it who said, I think it was Evert van Niekerk, never let the facts destroy a good story. And it certainly is, the pages I saw yesterday, it was, I can't wait for that book to come out. So
it's going to be special. And I think that's the thing, these books are special. They're not, they're a work of art, if I could use that expression, in terms of the team we have. And they're limited numbers. We're doing the same limited numbers with this book and the other books.
I'll have to apply for one because my birthday is at the end of July. So I can just picture myself on the morning of my birthday opening a box and seeing the Porsche at Kyalami book.
You see how the
Sounds like a
memories and see how the angle is played there. It's like you'd be dynamic at playing snooker, eh? I haven't seen an angle like that in a long time.
Oh yeah.
The Kyalami book's given us a huge database. So and people are anticipating new books. And that's the exciting part. And we don't want to be sitting with a garage full of books.
No, worst thing ever.
I don't want to do
that.
So you've now got a founder's second career, sort of, or whatever, a new career, new lease on life as a publisher.
Correct. I think it's still in the same game, though. It's all part of the passion, and that passion. My uncle took me at the age of 6 to my first race.
I was going to ask you where it started,
And my dad was a very well-known football player. He had no interest in motorsport. My uncle took me, and that's how it started. And I was hooked once, done, and it was then part of my life. Literally forever. I've done other things in my life, but motorsport's always been central in what I do. So this is just an extension. Running a venue is hard. It's whatever venue, not just a race circuit. And running events is a hard business. And I'd had enough of that to be quite done.
And now you're discovering how hard publishing.
No, it's this is very rewarding, I must say. You know, an event, you have it and you experience it, and the next day you talk about those World Superbikes.
Yeah, everyone complains.
Monday morning,
Yeah.
no, but Monday morning everything's gone.
Yeah, yeah.
Garages are empty, and you actually feel the sense of
What happened?
almost
Yeah.
depression
Yeah.
in a way. You
Holiday's over.
so it's you know, the books they remain and they're there, and that for me is it's very rewarding for me.
Well, every now and then I won't say I've read everything in it, but I page through and spend some time on 5 or 6 pages and ponder, and I can hear the cars in my head and smell the horrible toilets at the back of the pits. And,
What a fun memory.
I won't touch on that now.
Mike Marsh, and it was his wife, and in the first floor timekeeping and some of the issues around that before. Now I'm going back, and then Clubhouse and the running out of beer at the Clubhouse memories. Send us your memories as well.
As Toby said, everyone has a Kyalami memory.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what got this whole thing ready. The thought was always there, but when he said that, it sparked. I said, that's it now, the memories, you know.
It's wonderful.
Max Biaggi,
Mm-hmm.
very elusive guy.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to be running the circuit then, so I got to meet everyone. Hager was an incredible individual. Max Biaggi, I bumped into him, and I said, general manager, sign, and he says, your toilets are shit. And that was about the conversation. And he was 100% right at that point.
Yeah,
now though.
Not the toilet now.
No,
now they.
Now it's a 5-star hotel.
It's proper. It's the way it should be.
What a breath of fresh air.
Hey, East London.
He was. So that's my memory of
Max.
Biaggi.
Yeah.
Dennis, thanks for joining us. Thanks for spending time and opening up about the publishing business. Thanks for the memories. And can't wait for the Porsche to come.
Look at that.
I think so. And I just want to once again emphasize this is such a team effort. And I just honor and thank all the people that are preserving this history for us, preserving all these things, cars, you know, the Paolo Cavalieris of the world, Steve Katurbas. I can name Franschhoek Motor Museum, Anton and Neisner. These people have so much passion, and Peter Cady, Farouk Dangor, I can name and name.
Yeah.
And these people keep it alive for us. And I hope the books play just a small part in doing that as well.
If you're ever looking for a writer to join your team or whatever, maybe consider Colin, because when we did Dakar, there was about more pages than that, just on the results and the coverings and stuff. He's embarrassed now, but there was a whole novel that was piled up there. So he's your guy. If you're ever looking for someone, reach out to Colin.
We did, but his rates are
really, eh?
very high.
well, then you've done it to yourself, son.
Thanks for that, Dennis. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Look forward to seeing you in the future.
It's having me.
It's been a pleasure.
It's a privilege. Thank you. Thanks.
Awesome.
Awesome to chat about it. It's a fantastic thing you've put together. Yeah.
The Dakar experiences and your...
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Working with this guy, I mean, how can you not have fun? And he gets more handsome every time I see him. So for me, it's a privilege.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
There we go. Got our closing shot. Done. Thank you very much.
That was awesome. Yeah, jeez, like it. That's
Well,
fun.
I think it was,
I enjoyed that. I was like, I'm glad I stayed. Thanks for not kicking me out.
I'm actually glad you stayed as well.
Because I think
You give a different
element.